Hey Isaiah, how are you? Yes, definitely drawing some turtles for my friend Desiree tonight. We're gonna go over some of the San Diego stuff. I'll show off some of the things I picked up, go over some of the happenings. Although to be honest, as far as like big industry news, like most of the industry news went on elsewhere, and I found out about it afterwards, like some of the book announcements and things like that. Hey Mark, hey Jessica. Mark, you drawing? You working on Werewolf? Yeah, in this case, they wanted the more animated looking turtles that I did like as the first cover I ever did. So they're a little bit more like the Nickelodeon, what was that, 2012, 2014, somewhere in there. But yeah, I figured you'd be cranking it out. Very impressive. Yeah, I'll show off one thing that I got. It's this little pin. If you were a attendee, you went up and scanned your badge. They gave you one of these to go with your badge, and you also get a bag. They give you a big fancy bag. Did I bring it in here? I don't know if I brought it in here, but it's a big. Oh, here it is. It's like a big shoulder bag. This one has the Simpsons on it. I thought that was pretty cool. But you get those just for showing up. And like, here's the events guide. This has all the programming and everything, and maps and collectible pins. Interesting. Yeah, some of this I was aware of, but some of it I didn't see. And then this is like the quick guide. They have like two giant books that you can pick up, and this has the big map on it. This is the sales pavilion. This is upstairs. But yeah, it's got the map in the center, and I posted this, and this giant thing, all this stuff that was going on, like all the way over here was Artist Alley. You have to fold the page. DC was over here. Marvel wasn't that far away, but yeah, right by Gate C, which was right here, was us. We were right there, 2200. And I took one trip to each side of the show on different days before it opened. But during the day, I was at my booth the whole time. So, but yeah, they had all kinds of stuff. Here's more programming stuff going on. But yeah, those are the two programs. There's the pin. I was actually caddy corner from an artist named Dean Kotz, whose stuff I've liked for a long time. He's done stuff for Dynamite, IDW. He did a John Carter versus Mars Attacks book, and we did a sketch trade. So he did this for me of John Carter and Deja Thoros, which I just thought it came out just beautiful. He does wonderful work. I highly suggest you follow him on social media. Dean Kotz, DeanKotz. If you like old school pulpy stuff, he's definitely one of our folks. This was a fella I met at random that came up to the booth, and his wife, I believe, wife or partner, friend, companion, person they were with. Let's just say that person they were with. His name was Jenny, and she used to work for Renegade Comics. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to read Wordsmith and Revolver, the Sherlock Holmes book, Miss Tree. Yeah, there were tons of books, and then I guess he is a graphic novelist, and he wanted Undersea Hero. So, but he was like, "Oh, I do books. Would you like one?" And I haven't read it yet. I just got it. I just traded for it, traded an Undersea Hero for it, and yeah, he did a little sketch for me. But yeah, I guess Henry knew George and made a graphic novel about his life. He was a writer on The Twilight Zone and other television and stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. Very nicely put together, Rutgers University Press. Looks great. But it just came out, so. Other news, I saw my friend Jesse Campbell, who's like a big time Tick fan and collector, and he had like a walk on guest role, you would call it, in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. He was this elf character. I guess he's called Selfie Elf. He handed me this picture. Thank you, Jesse. And he picked up Undersea Hero, so thank you for that. But that was the big push. Undersea Hero was everything. This was an interesting exchange. A gentleman came up to the booth and he saw Undersea Hero and he really liked it. And he asked me if I spoke Japanese, and I said no, of course. And we did our best to communicate. And I guess he's a film producer. He works with like the voice actors for Akira, Astro Boy, and a couple of the other old school American translated animes, but I guess the original Japanese actors. And he owns a couple of movie theaters, I guess he said. And when we exchanged business cards formally, and then he asked me if I knew how to write my name in Japanese, and I said, of course I do not. And then he proceeded to take this piece of paper and tell me that this is how you write my name in Japanese. And I thought that was very cool. And he did one in Chinese, but he didn't write my name out underneath. Now, I could be wrong. He could be, pulling my leg or whatever, but it seemed like a very genuine and nice cultural exchange. It's the kind of thing that probably wouldn't happen at any other comic show in the world. And yeah, he liked the Undersea Hero. So, and I spent my time, working on promoting that. Like, I was at the booth before anyone else every day, and I had these out on the table, and we had our debut badge on it and everything, and I had the Conan books, which actually got pushed back a week. So I was allowed to put these out on my booth 2 weeks early, and according to everything, it's going to break Marvel's sales record for the first issue. So that's pretty neat to be a small part of that. Did I sell all of the Undersea Hero books? I did not. We sold a lot, though. We did pretty darn well. I still have a fair number of the sketch covers and some of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to put these on my website. I think I might just have them with me at conventions. I'll be at Fan EXPO and then a couple others the rest of the year before the Kickstarter, and then I might make it a reward. But I don't know. I mean, if people really want them, you guys can always DM me, and anybody that hangs out on the stream, I'll take care of. But yeah, between those two books, and I got to talk to the people at the Titan booth. I talked to the editor of the book. Talked to John, the main production editor, and I just told him that I would love a chance to do some interior pages, even if it was just a short or a one-off. Because this was like a character that I'd liked since I was a little kid, and he'd asked if I'd do other IPs, and I said, well, maybe, but it depends what it is and what the pay is and turnarounds and everything else. But I did talk to him, so I at least left the door open that this, there could be something else. I can't guarantee anything, but I could show you a work in progress, though. I was working on a Shark Week sketch for Undersea Hero. I don't know if anybody else is. Yeah, Isaiah, just shoot me a DM and we'll take care of you. Otherwise, I don't want to forget. I don't want you to think I forgot you. But yeah, I was gonna do it. I'm working on a drawing for Shark Week, and it's just they do all the like mean. They try to make sharks look like they're just these killing machines. So I also wanted to do a picture of like nice sharks. So these are like a basking shark, a whale shark, a Port Jackson shark, a zebra shark, and a dogfish, and a wobbegong. So like these are nice sharks, ones that won't hurt you. That was the whole thing. But there's the sketch from Dean, Undersea Hero. Yeah, I was definitely the first person in every day by a considerable margin. And I mean, I ascribe that to being a hockey player and always being first, wanting to be first to the rink. I would get in at 7:30 and get to work on the booth, work on sketches, talk to people that were in, because I knew I wasn't going to get out away from the booth. One of the things that happened while I was there, Jeff McClellan and I were sharing a spot next to each other, and he was helping me out, helping me sell Undersea Hero, and we were promoting the book we'd done together, Planet Comics, and his credit card machine crapped out on him, like it just never booted up. So we had to share mine, and we're still working out the paperwork end. We stayed at a trying to remember the name of that hotel. Actually, I'm sure Désirée remembers the name of the hotel, just because she'd stayed there before us. But it was a suites, like about 6 blocks from the show. It's the closest I'd ever stayed. I usually stayed out in El Cajon. And they had a giant like free breakfast included with the room every day, so I was able to eat, and get an omelet with like potatoes and everything, and have a big meal before the show. Embassy Suites, there you go. I swear, I still haven't recovered from getting back at 4:30 in the morning on Monday, and then I had to go to the office and get to work already, like straight away. So it was a long day. Desiree says she used to stay in El Cajon when you could drive in anytime and find parking. Yes. Well, and yeah, and that's the catch-22 of staying a little further out. I would end up paying for lift fees to and from the convention, or if a friend of mine rented a car, I would throw them some gas money if they let me. Sometimes your friends won't let me pay, so I have to big time them by just grabbing a check at some point at dinner. It's been a while since I've drawn like the cartoonier version. I'm trying to keep it lively, and the thing I remember most about it is they had a lot of like energy lines, meaning that they would have superficial like scratchy lines that were done quickly in order to have like just a certain amount of zip to it. What's that, Jay? I don't understand what you're saying. Oh, I mean, the show, honestly, like it was busier than, it was as busy as any show I'd been at. Like the only moment that happened at another show that was like busier, it was scary busy, was when I was there the year that they announced the Justice League, and the whole cast was there. Affleck was there, Gal Gadot was there. I think even Snyder was there. Um, but yeah, that was at the DC booth right across from the NEC booth, and that was like people getting hurt, or afraid people would get hurt. One of the most brilliant things about these designs was the use of tape. and the way they designed around joints. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, the hotel was nice. I stayed with Jeff and Bill Walko in a nice suite. They had a good free breakfast. The first day carrying the books and everything down from the hotel without driving, that was a workout for sure. What are my fellow Nichols backers up to tonight? We're still working on that one. We're still workshopping the group name. But one thing that came up at the show, and it was, talking to, because I have this phenomenon now. There are people that check out the stream and don't read comics. So that I do need to add another type of show that um, doesn't take a ton of production time. Like a live stream is just my like present time. Like I have to literally just like plop down, turn on the camera, and we hang out and chat, which is great. But talking to people, I probably need to just do like flip throughs of old comics and stuff that I like and talk about artwork and that kind of thing. I was thinking about like pre-recording it like on a Saturday morning. Chuck Lee has a question on YouTube. He asks, let me pull up the question here. Hold on. I have a question. What size drafting pencils do you suggest for outlines and details when drawing? Comes Sam drawing pens. Why ask to save some money? For pretty much anything, I use a 0.5 pencil lead, because the pencil lead, I am not going to be doing line thickness with the pencil. The pencil is to think out the scene, get my structure, get my perspective, that kind of thing. What I call the tubes and cubes method. It's a way of simplifying things to geometric shapes. It's very much a tried and true method that's an amalgam of the Loomis method and a couple other versions of building figures and structures. For doing my inks though, what I like to use are actually two different flexible tips. I use these pocket brushes from Kuretake, CJ, where I can create like nice different line thicknesses. And then I also have the brush pen, which is actually my favorite inking tool. This is the Sable Kuretake brush pen. And what you can see here is that it is a brush. Like it's got wonderful sable bristles. It lasts a long time. You can get really good sharp feathering lines. You can get anything you can do with a brush, you can do with this. And it's better than the current crop of Raphael brushes that I'd been using. I hope that answers your question, but also just use what you're comfortable with. Like I know people that just use a number 2 Ticonderoga and they can draw circles around me. So it's really just using what you think, what you want to make sing. I mean, I just found that I like these. They do what I need them to do. Um, and right now, what I'm not doing it's a big fundamental difference between my work and a lot of other work is that I'm not penciling for somebody else to ink it. I'm penciling for my own inking. So what I need to do is know what to do in certain situations to get the right line thicknesses and everything. I don't need to put it on paper right away. I don't need to be tracing my own lines. And people have been asking me about the trailer for the new Turtles movie. I think it looks fun. I really do. I really like the art style. I think that, making them kids again is great. And I think it's going to be a lot of, I think that this will be a lot of fun for folks to check out. It might not be exactly what like some of the old Mirage guys want, but got to keep introducing new generations. What else happened? Undersea Hero, credit card machine. Desiree said they showed 20 minutes of it at Con and it was wonderful. It just looks really fun. I'm gonna check it out. I went to the Eisners. I posted a picture for that. I'd never been to the Eisners. It was long, so if you choose to go to it, you're committing your full evening to it. And I think everyone that's in the comic industry should go once. I really do. Whether you're nominated or not. Jeff and I were there. We had books that were nominated, and neither of us won, but went there, saw some great presenters. Sam Glanzman got the Hall of Fame induction, and his son gave a wonderful speech. Um, he was best known for doing a lot of war comics. He did the Charlton Tarzan comics that were not licensed. He did the phenomenal Hercules comics for Charlton. Really, really exceptional. He really altered in that book specifically. He did not use like a Marvel or DC approach to storytelling. He used graphic narrative and design elements that he would use nowhere else for his entire career. So it makes me wonder what he was looking at when he was doing those books, or what he was watching. Was he watching just the Steve Reeves movie? I don't know, but like that was inspired work. Uh, and the Tarzans are fun. I honestly have a hard time reading Tarzan at this point in my life, because it's like, especially if you're sticking to the old stuff, it's very very dated in many ways, and that's the nicest way I can put it, I think. But at the Eisners, it was really cool. The guy that voices Calculon was one of the presenters. The guy who was Polka Dot Man in the what you call it, Suicide Squad movie. Um, I also really Felicia Day was there. She was a presenter, but she actually also came by the booth. Felicia Day and her agent or handler or companion friend, I don't know, but they were actually he was flipping through Planet Comics. And it was funny when Jeff came back to the booth. He was like, "Oh, did you give her a free copy?" I was like, "No, they're not mine to give away." And I made some joke of like, she probably lost more money in the last 10 minutes than we'll ever make. Does she need a free copy of our book? But I guess Jeff was not amused by my quip. Did I have time to grab exclusives? Absolutely not. No, no. When working the booth, um, what it takes to get those exclusives is really, really a lot of focus, dedication, and the people that do it, God bless them. But, other than my own stuff, I really didn't have the ability to go buy things. The only thing I picked up, and I showed it earlier, was I did a sketch trade with Dean Kotz. So, um, which is special to me because I really like his work, and he was a really nice guy, and we got to chat before the show pretty much every day. Desiree says David Daltz Makian. I I have no idea who it was. I'm sorry, I couldn't read his name tag. But Jeff was, of course, like, "Oh, she's the best. I love her. You should have." It's like, I'm not giving away your books, man. I don't know. But he was basically giving me instructions, like she gets a free book. I was like, okay, okay. All right, next time, or if you were here. Um, yeah, the Conan booth was absolutely mobbed, the Titan booth, and like I said, they're on track to break Marvel sales records for the first issue. So kudos to the team. Oh, that's right. Yeah, but if that's the gentleman who played Polka Dot Man, then yes, he was one of the presenters at the Eisners. Yeah, and he gave a very nice speech about protecting artists from AI and doing the protecting creativity. And it was definitely like not entirely scripted or planned because they were definitely trying to play the music to have him stop. But he finished his speech. He's like, "Nope, I'm saying that AI is bad, and you're gonna listen." And you got a nice ovation. So I would say that was he did a very good job. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but on the Fat Cat Funnies, my little label, we posted my I say our because it's just me, um, stance on AI. It will not be even considered for publication. So um, there was someone in Artist Alley kicked out for using AI, and I looked it up. I looked into it, and that's I am not opposed to that. Um, because it's the improperly sourced data sets. If someone could completely program it with their own consent and their own abilities, then that changes the math. But as long as they're using if you wanted to get personal, like my data is in there, so my stuff was in there. So and there were some heated people that came to the booth. I had to try my best to calmly educate them because there were a lot of uninformed folks who were going to bat for AI at San Diego that were definitely not artists. Um, so I tried to be polite, be engaging, and be succinct. Um, I did not see their booth before they were removed. No, I only got down to Artist Alley twice because it's basically it might as well be in Hawaii compared to where I was as far as the size of the place and how hard it was to get through the center of the convention. The convention itself, when you're in it, there's no there's no breathing room. Like there's no space for anything. Like you have to if you commit to going from like one side to the other, like it's 45 minutes and you're like waddling along. You know, it's you're going at the pace of someone looking at at a museum. Honestly, and there were so many super talented artists at the show. Like you had the best in the world, you know, walking around. One artist that I wanted to meet who wasn't able to attend, he's 84 years old, was Alex Nino. And I did bring a book, a Charlton book for him to sign. I went over to his booth during the day at one point. I think it was on Friday when it slowed down at the very end of the day. And I went over and I talked to Alex Nino's son. And he was very nice. I just, told him how much I loved his artwork and, that he was very inspirational. I could never draw like Alex Nino. I don't know if anyone ever will or can. But just an inspirational talent. If you do not know Alex Nino's work, it's spelled like this. I believe there's an accent there of some kind. It might be one of those. But if you don't know Alex Nino's work, just do a Google search. Just check it out. Just absolutely mind blowing, inspirational work that I don't think can be replicated. I really just, I say that and then, you'll be like, no, this AI is already faking it. But such a unique talent. Um, Went and had pizza actually the first night. That's kind of a tradition. There's a New York style pizza place in the Gas Lamp that Jeff goes to every year, and we met one of his artist friends that I'm failing to remember his name now. I'd never met him before. Nice guy, and his wife. But Felicia Day, Eisner's. When I was walking outside, here's an Undersea Hero little tidbit. We saw a ray actually in the water chasing little minnows. That was very cool. That's the kind of thing that inspires Undersea Hero to exist. So that walking along the water, you see cool stuff. And one of the things I actually did, um, and this will be something that I'm working on, is I actually brought back some water from the Pacific Ocean, just a little bottle filled with it, because I am planning on doing an Undersea Hero print with a little remark that has water from both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So it's like a dual ocean print remark, which I thought would just be cool. Like, I mean, how I remember when I first went to California, I was just like, okay, Jeff, like we've set stuff up, we're checked in. I've never seen the Pacific Ocean before, and I really want to. And now I'm going to put out a print that has water from both oceans on it, since the Atlantic is, just over the hill there. Chuck Lee says, "What's going on in this world? AI all over the place, and everyone is talking about UFO." It's true. It's true. Jonathan, exactly. Yes, yes. Like Kiss with the blood and the ink. Yep. But with oceans, oceans, two oceans. It's a book about the ocean. But Chuck, if I was, 16 again, I would have been all over the alien stuff. But in the world as it currently stands now, I'm just like, you know. I forget how big their hands are in this version of the show. They have gigantic hands. But yeah, that was the thought, Jonathan, and all those microbes, tiny little phytoplankton, maybe. I've got two gimmicky things that I'm working on. One of them is the two ocean waters, and then the other is doing waterproof. So you could actually take your Undersea Hero print or whatever it's going to be underwater. Like those are the two things that are not going to raise the price of things a ludicrous amount, but would just be fun things to have. I have people telling me you got to do all this and all that for the Kickstarter. I'm like, hey. Chuck says my dad would have loved all of this UFO talk. He was all into that stuff, but he's no longer with us. Well, I mean, my old man probably into it. Yeah, Probably into it. We all watch the X-Files together, so we'll just sit around until the smoking man pops on TV to tell us about having to give them our firstborn in order to save us. It's taken me a little while to get back into the mindset of these turtles because I haven't drawn in this style in so long. Nobody ever asks for it, so I'm out of practice. So it'll probably look a little bit like an amalgam of how I draw them and how they made me do drawing tests to learn how to draw them. Yeah, I'm still just a little out of it from the show, to be honest. Like, I got in. I'll tell you about my flight back. I mean, that's we got a lot of people in here. I mean, it's not as interesting as the convention, but it is a sordid journey. Got back in. I decided not to go to the convention Sunday morning for like an hour, just because I just didn't think it would be worth going in and out and all the extra work and prep and the stress of travel because I had to get back. Um, And so I went straight to the airport after taking a little respite after breakfast and got through security. Everything was fine in San Diego. And then I started seeing there was a delay, and there was more delay, and then less delay. And then my flight out of San Diego ended up leaving pretty much on time. But then when I got to Chicago, I was backed up 2+ hours. So I ended up sitting at the bar, doing some drawing, hanging out. Um, and after a little bit, we all were called over for the boarding and everything else, and they tell us if we don't get this plane off the ground in you know 35, 40 minutes, we can't leave because the captain is exceeding his flight time hours that he's allowed to fly. We're like, oh great, and then I look around and I see everybody's got bags, and there's quite a few wheelchairs, and I'm like, we're gonna load onto this plane and then have to get loaded off because the captain exceeded his time. Obviously, like I want to be safe, so like but there was a point during the loading process where the person behind with the microphone was like, if we don't get off the ground because of the suitcases, it's going to be because of you guys, basically. And I'm like, if you weren't 2 hours late, I could have brought 100 suitcases. So I feel like there's a disparaging difference between who is most at fault here. And in the moment, I'm just like, just get us on the plane, and then we'll all unload, and then you got to book us all with hotels and all that stuff. But people were getting restless. Everybody had a couple because they were stuck there for 2 hours. And it was already past, I think it was past midnight at this point. Yeah. We didn't, and we didn't land until, you know, after 3 something. And then I got to get my suitcase and get my other bags. And then I got to call for a lift. And then it's not, I don't get home until, after 4:30. And then I don't get to bed until almost 5. Needless to say, I was a little late to the office that morning, but nobody seemed to care. Desiree has a question. Let's highlight said question. I have a question about watercolors. Why are they so hard to work with? Well, I think it's because, if I'm being honest, like they require a decisiveness. Um, Even if you're doing big washy areas and doing big flowy sets of color, you still have to be decisive with your movements, and you still have to be decisive uh, with what you're doing. And when you're first learning how to do that, it's really, really hard. Um, my biggest recommendation would be if I was teaching, if I end up teaching watercolors at some point, and honestly, I wouldn't mind becoming a teacher. Um, regular paycheck, get summers off, maybe teach some art, coach some baseball. Um, is to start with really light color, like really lots of water, very little pigment, and just keep building up on your own color, like layer after layer after layer. It's translucent, so as you add more color, it'll become more vibrant, and you can continue to do so. Um, I know you've seen me do underpainting, and to me, that's the best way to do a painting. Well, not just to me, but to the people that train me and to many artists before me. I just happen to agree with that methodology. Is that if you do the underpainting, and that one you can take the most time, and you're only using two colors at most for underpainting. You're going to use a shadow color and an edge of white color. And what I mean is, like, it's a highlight, but you don't. White is the most bright, and you're going to put it along where the edge of whatever white areas you're going to leave the negative space showing through. And you can spend days doing underpainting, and it doesn't matter. And then all you have to do is mix a translucent version of whatever color you want the final to be and put it over top of the underpainting in layers, and until you get the vibrancy you want. If I were to teach painting today, that's what I would do. Like if I ever had a class. I forgot to get this part of this arm. If the elbow was here. And actually, it's going to be covered up because that's where the pizza will be. Chuck says he always has to take 2 Tylenols after a Comic-Con. Yep, get a lot of sleep, drink a ton of water, always dehydrated, always. I'm always dehydrated after comic shows. No matter how much water, no matter how many energy drinks. It's because I'm talking more than in a day than I do in a month. You guys listen to me talk, so you might think that I talk a lot, but I really don't. There was a period of my life where I barely talked at all, actually. Desiree says it was a paint and sip station. They had pretty detailed instructions, still messed it up, probably because they also had an open bar. Well, if I drink at all while I'm trying to draw or paint, it comes out bad. I won't lie. I have Because the way I work without using a ton of references is I have to picture in my head everything that I'm doing, every little bit. I have to see which angle this thumb is at because I have to see it in my head. And if I have anything to drink, I'm just kind of retracing drawings that I'd done before in my head instead of being present to the one that's in front of me. Because every drawing is different, every single one. So, but I got to see a ton of friends at San Diego, and that was just phenomenal. That was people I hadn't seen since before COVID. Uh, you know, Steve Siegel, hadn't seen him since Colorado Springs years ago now in person. Um, Rudy, Felix, Desiree. Geez, there were so many people that came by the booth that found me in that giant sea of people and stuff. I mean, and there were some surprises when it came to the exclusives and what booths were the most busy. The busiest booth that I was anywhere near during the show was by far the Lego booth, by far. And I saw the Funko booth, and everyone's like, Funko, Funko, Funko. But The Funko booth of this year was not the Funko booth of, like, the first couple of years I was going there. The first couple of years I was going there, it was like people were shoving grandmas down the stairs to get whatever the exclusive was. And this year it was not that. It was busy. It was still busy, but I would say that the busiest booth that I saw was that. And then we also had this was a funny story. The Todd McFarlane booth was, let's say, around the corner from me. And when they had either Todd at the booth or were doing the exclusives, the line would stretch in front of my booth. So I would have these dudes with, it was all dudes, dudes with Spawn shirts on in front of me. And basically, I gave about 15 or 20 minutes of just to be like, okay, line moves, I'll leave them alone. Um, but after a certain point, I started taking stacks of flyers and walking down the line and just like, hey, you're standing in front of my booth. Would you like to look at my book or, you know, check out something while you're waiting? You know, here's a list of my credits. Here's my new book. Um, and I actually ended up selling a couple of books to people in line, which was, you know, I it might have been a pity sale, but like to be honest, they were blocking my booth for like well over an hour on, I think it was Friday morning. And the guy that was in charge of like herding the lines came by later, so I think he had a soul, and he came back and bought stuff from like Doug and a couple other people. Desiree says she got to meet Doug Paskevich. That's right. He was in the booth. I was in the booth that he runs. So Doug is a prototype, I would say, like the good Dr. Thompson. My old man loves his work to this day. I loved his work, you know, when I was a kid, and still read it. Um, he did a book called Laughter of the Damned that came out at the same time as some of his earlier Arsenic Lullaby stuff. I'm glad you got to meet him. Yes, Jonathan. Ugh, Funko, I agree. Chuck Lee says, I was talking earlier about the way you draw under your structure stick figure. Can you show me the way that looks like it really fast? Okay, if you don't have time. No, no, I'll show you. I'll show you the stick figure, the tubes and cubes method. Um, yeah, it's really simple. Like, let's say our horizon line is here. So that's going to be the mid figure. Um, here's our vanishing point. Pretty simple. We did this exercise live a couple of times. Everything goes to your vanishing point. And as things get closer to the horizon line, the line becomes straight. Here's like a really rough version. You know, if you're doing shoulders, arm, leg, and then at this point, you're actually going to be seeing the top of the leg. There's a really quick version of it. You know, and if you're doing a hand, you know, the Loomis method being that you simplify your shapes. Now, the palm of your hand, it looks all funky and wonky, like weird. If you just turn it into a box, makes it real simple. And then you have the fingers come out of each knuckle. Did it come back? Did it do the thing? Are we back? Oh, hello? Okay, cool. Yeah, little problem with the internet time to time. That's what happens when you can only afford the cheapest Wi-Fi. And they sent us this thing like, "Hey, you can get faster Wi-Fi if you pay like twice as much." It's like, "Hey, I can't afford twice as much, so we're just gonna have to roll with it." Oh, no problem, Chuck. And if you look back, at some of my earlier streams, we definitely go over like how to draw certain stuff. And if you ever want me to do a demonstration of something like the night of, you can always comment on the announcement graphics that go up on social media. Feel free to put on there like, "Hey, I'd like to know how you do perspective," or "Hey, you know, what's the best way to do expressions," or whatever. And that would definitely help me out. So, and Jonathan, we'll have to get you on the new show, the Flip Through Comics show, at some point. Because I think that's the type of show where I'd want to get different perspectives. I've always wanted to also get retailers on the stream, but I don't have so much time to plan this stuff. Lots of ideas, lots of stuff that could happen, just not as many hours in the day as I'd like. How long did it take me to get really good at this? Well, I would say that I'm not really good, if I'm being honest. I would say I'm better than I was yesterday. That's what I would say, and it's because I work every single day. When did I become a professional? When did I first get paid to do it? Was when I was a teenager. But like, as far as like getting gigs that people had heard of, wasn't until oh, no problem. It wasn't until I would say 2014. So I was how the heck old was I? 84, 2000. Yeah, so I was 30 when I first started doing Ninja Turtles and TMNT stuff. Um, as far as like getting gigs, because it's not just about how good you get or how much you practice. It's also like when do you put yourself in position to get opportunities, and are you ready for those opportunities? Because to be honest, before that, I probably wasn't ready. If I had gotten a chance to draw even my favorite comic book, I probably was not equipped to handle the business end, the deadlines. But working professionally in graphic design and in publishing, around comics, I would say that prepared me as you know, much as drawing ever did. Like, because I'm gonna draw every day for my entire life, whether somebody's paying me or not. You know, um, and I've seen a lot of people just get. It's putting in the 10,000 hours. And I've seen people who want to do comics or say they want to do comics, and it's more that they want to have done comics rather than do comics. There's a distinction there, and then there are people who go the hard route and they really hammer through. I've known some folks that went on and did the Kubert School, which is a great resource. They also still do the correspondence courses if you can't go to the school. They have tons of videos on their YouTube page, which I highly recommend. Theirs is one of the, I think, best resources for young artists out there. They have, lectures by Andy and Adam, and even some stuff from Joe from back in the day. They have guest lecturers all the time. Klaus Janson gave a good lecture there. I know you're not supposed to like, tell people to leave your channel or whatnot, but like, it's just too good of a resource to not recommend it. I wanted to go to the Kubert School. I did. I actually wrote a letter to Joe, and he wrote me back. So And he did. He gave me a different perspective on it. Like I was, young kid full of blanket vinegar. I was tough. I could draw. I played hockey, played baseball, and he just gave me a nice perspective. Um, and the letter basically said like your parents want what's best for you, and to give your best every day, and be open to whatever opportunities come your way, and they're not all the same for everyone. And basically, just to be kind. And it definitely it stuck with me. So. I actually tried to tell one of the Kubert brothers about that story, but he did not seem to have time, which not his fault. At a comic convention, no one has time for anything. But if I ever got a chance at like a signing or something, or if I went to the school or whatever, I would tell that story to him because it meant a lot to me. Like, Joe Kubert, one of the best of all time, taking 20 minutes to type a letter to some kid who just loved comic books. But as far as the show goes, like honestly, I think everybody needs to go once. I really do. There's no other show like it. It's the biggest. It's the most important. It is a comic book show. Like people are like, no, it's a media show. It's always been a comic book show. It's the world's largest comic show, right next to the world's largest media show. If you wanted an Action One or an Amazing Fantasy 15, there's not a comic in the world, if you had the money, that you couldn't walk in there and buy. And if that doesn't mean that it's because I go to, a dozen shows a year. Go to a dozen shows a year. And I don't see those books. Like they're just not there, even at New York. Like at New York, sometimes they have an Action One, rarely is it for sale. Sometimes they have a Detective 20 for 27, rarely is it for sale. And there were tons of indie creators, tons of them, like all around. Small press. In the section where we were, like we were surrounded by publishers. Like it wasn't just Titan. First Comics was there. Antarctic Press was right next to us. Yeah, there were tons and tons of comic books and comic book publishers there. Oh, very cool. You talked to the Kubert family. And the teachers they have now are unbelievable. Like if you go there now, you learn from Tom Mandrake and Jan Duursema, like, that incredible artists. She drew like a zillion issues of Star Wars for Dark Horse, on top of doing, Arion, Lord of Atlantis, which rules, by the way. If you have not hit that book up, um, if you like fantasy magic stuff, um, and it's definitely my favorite thing written by Paul Kupperberg. I mean, he's written a million superhero books and stuff, but I think that he was my favorite work of his was his fantasy work. I really liked it. Desiree says she got to meet Mad Magazine artist Tom Richmond. He was way back toward the end of Hall A. Yeah, over in Artist Alley area. I mean, there were great artists over there. Jim Chung. I saw his booth. I saw. God, it's all a blur because there's so many people in that section when I was there. But like, yeah, just a zillion artists. I didn't. I guess Dave Garcia was there, but I didn't get to see him. I was sad I didn't get to see Dave. For those that are wondering, these captions are hand done by Jeff McClellan, and he didn't sign it. So I don't know, Desiree, if you want me to mail it to him, to have him sign it, and then mail it to you, or what. But um, he should have signed it. But I'm gonna basically just put like a little arc here for the background, and then we'll have some bricks, and then we'll have just some sewer bits to make it look sewer-like. Oh, opposite end of the floor, way away from Funkaville. Oh, that's right. You did say you met Bill Griffith. I mean, Jaime Hernandez was there, one of the best to ever, to cross reference, to lace them up, as sports fans would say. Yeah, I saw that he actually was doing some really nice sketches. And I'm sorry I couldn't go to that art exhibit with you. Um, just have to make. I would like to go once, not attached to a booth, um, and just go visit people and maybe do a signing at a booth for a little bit and call it a day. But yeah, so like the Fantagraphics booth was not far from where we were stationed. And on Sunday, I had a wonderful dinner with a fantastic writer named Jenny Wood. She's a Boston area writer. She created a book called Flutter that I liked very much. She's got tons of new projects in the works. Um, Boy Like Me. She's done Fubar. She wrote The Road Warrior with that I got to work on that with her. And we just got to talk comics industry and convention and have some seafood. Yeah, that was terrific. And then I had a piece of cheesecake with Jeff and Jenny, and that was the end of the road for the show. That was how we closed it out. I had a beer in the room while I was packing up, and called it a day. Also, as I was getting the text from the airline, as Jonathan was pointed out with the excellent planes, trains, and automobiles reference. Yeah, every time I looked at my phone, it was like, oh God, not again. But it was so weird. Like at one point, my first flight was delayed like over an hour. But then by the time I got to the gate, like they had changed it to like, I don't know, let's say 20 minutes, which they still had us on time. And then we ended up leaving basically like 5 minutes late. So, like, pretty well on time. Okay, so if this arm is here, there's going to be an elbow there, so we have to darken that out. Have you ever drawn any G.I. Joe comics? I have. I actually have a cover. I'm actually making the cover available that I had done. What was it? 241 for IDW. It has Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, and Storm Shadow on it. And I also got to help out on a recent card game. I did some work on that came out recently. So those are the two GI Joe projects I've been involved with. I almost drew one of the covers for that big crossover where it was the GI Joe ROM, was it Revolution? But that fell through like at the last minute, as tends to happen. Yeah, yeah, it was Chris Campana who had like a giant pile of cards that he needed help finishing, and myself, um, hey Jason, good to see you, man. Myself, Nate Lovett, and Sean Forney all pitched in to help him hit that deadline because he had 10 million other things going on, and now he's got his first issue of Ghost Rider out. So as I said on the thread, I will go and pick up a new issue of Ghost Rider, new off the stands for the first time in probably 25 years. I'd read Ghost Rider comics since then, but they were all not new comics. Like I would get them in the dollar bin or whatever. I was never a huge Ghost Rider guy, but to support Chris to hopefully sell it out at the local store, so it shows that, we will buy his work and support him while he is working for Marvel Comics, and that hopefully they keep giving him more work because he's a great guy and he deserves every ounce. Desiree, you might have met him if you were at the New York shows. Like he's from not far from there, so, and he always does New York. So yeah, I mean the card game was interesting. Jonathan, I can show you the cards I worked on at some point. What was the guy who was all purple with the monocle? Um, Purple with the monocle. I did that one. There were a bunch of guys that were really generic looking, and I think they were like for like weapons, like pick up a laser rifle or whatever. I think that's what those cards were for. Oh, the Connecticut show. Yeah, yeah. I thought Desiree. I thought I saw you at New York at some point. I couldn't. I don't know. Gigantic show. I just assume that you're there, doing your interviews and whatnot. Desiree's other question. Uh, do these in order. Dr. Mindbender, that's correct. That was one that I worked on. Jason's question: when is the Kickstarter coming? Well, sir, it is coming in November. November, probably my birthday, the 16th, as long as I get everything done in time. And I'm going to need you guys' help. I'll need all your help to get the word out. Anybody that is friendly with, podcasts or whatever, places that can help me promote this thing and get the word out. This is I would love to be able to put out a couple, like a Kickstarter book a year that's like an oversized book every year. Like that's where I would like to get to. And this is the first one. So if this one doesn't work, then who knows? And honestly, I have no idea if I'll ever be back to San Diego. So I tried to treat it as though I wasn't coming back. Like a graphic novel, Jason asks. It's a triple-sized issue, so it'll be stapled. It's not going to be glue binding. It's going to be saddle stitched. I don't know if you'd call it a graphic novel because what I'd like to do is have it to so that anybody who backs it first and gets the whole story. And gets it right away. And then, I'd talk to retailers about maybe splitting it into a mini series at some point down the road after that. So, but like anybody who backs it will get the whole story and whatever rewards that we decide to go forward with. and that people decide to pick up, like whether it's sketches or artwork or posters or remarks or whatever folks decide they want to back. But no, this is a really, really big deal for me. I'll be calling in any favor I got. Um, I actually did look into pins, Desiree, and I think we will have pins. They're not super expensive, and I can fit them in with the comic books I found a way to use a little baggie in the Gemini 2 mailers. So I just ordered some more mailers because I have a bunch of orders from my website that were like Conan books and some other random stuff that I didn't get out before the show. Um, Mailers are supposed to be here Friday. I'll pack them up over the weekend and they'll be out, Monday, Tuesday, beginning of next week. Absolutely, there has to be a Crackus pin. I think that they're pretty inexpensive. They're like basically $30 for 100, from where I was looking at them. And if that's the case, I can order probably $100 worth and not overextend myself. Or we make it a stretch goal, or we can do slightly bigger pins as a stretch goal. But yeah, I was looking into that for San Diego, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I did too much. I was way over prepared. I definitely packed a little too much, overpacked. But I didn't know. This was my first time doing it by myself. Chuck says, off topic, but he thinks Desiree is a beautiful name. So there you go. Positive vibes in the stream. Got to enjoy that. I don't know if I'm gonna have a glass of V8 juice with a little piece of celery. I don't know why. Chuck Desiree says thank you. Look at that positive energy. The one thing I was surprised that didn't come out of San Diego Comic-Con was the trailer or teaser that they did for the Red Sonja movie that they're working on. It must be really rough if they didn't release it to the public already. Just meaning that it probably is early in production. That would be my guess. But another character that I did a cover for that they're doing something with, so kind of neat. I've always been a Leo fan. I wonder what he eats for breakfast. You think he has yogurt in the morning? Is he maybe he's a granola guy? I don't know. I could see that. Grape nuts? Maybe grape nuts? Something from the 80s? Were there celebs with all the striking stuff? Yeah, absolutely. There were, like I said, what's her name? Felicia Day was by the booth. I saw the Polka Dot Man guy there, and there Maurice LaMarche. There were voice actors that were around. They just didn't do the promotional panel. So one of the cool things that they did was they actually brought in the artists. They brought in the VFX artists to talk about the shows. They brought in the storyboard artists. So you actually got, instead of a hype panel, you got more of a DVD extra panel, where they actually told you how they made the things, which if I were an attendee, those are the panels I'd rather go to. And then they had more art panels. So, unfortunately, Sergio was not there. So there was not like there was a quick draw, but of course, it's not the same without Sergio. But I think Mark Evanier, he was there. I love DVD extras. I'll listen to the commentary. I'll watch the making of documentary that they had the intern put together. I like that stuff. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy. I like finding out how they made the scene with the giant boat propeller in Last Crusade. That kind of stuff. And some of them are really good. Some of the DVD documentaries that are out there. I didn't get to any panels, but like I had tons of friends who went and did stuff and went to signings that were like the creators, or Matt Groening was walking around, of course, like saw pictures of him. I did not see him. I mean, celebrities. We saw Rob Liefeld walk by the booth. Saw Jeff Loeb. Uh, saw plenty of folks with the name recognition. But I also saw other creators that I hadn't seen in years, and that was delightful. And people whose kids I hadn't seen since they were like teeny tiny, like kid-sized kids, and now they're people-sized kids. So like, there was like real stuff. That's the inside baseball of these things, is that like I rarely get to see a lot of my friends, and some of them I hadn't seen since COVID, and so it was really nice. Yeah, Matt was walking around, and he was at the. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this one. Was it Random House? It was a regular. It was a book publisher's booth. Um, Jesse, the selfie elf gentleman, um, got a bunch of cells signed by him. I got to meet him one year. He drew a Bart Simpson for me on a Tick comic. Actually, I might have it right here if you guys want to see it. Yeah, there you go, from 2017. That was when I met the whole cast and everybody. There's Ben. You challenged Matt to a Simpsons quote off. I don't think any of us could have won that. I applaud you for trying, though. There's a couple of episodes I can quote verbatim, but there's honestly like years of Simpsons that I have not seen, because like there was a point where I just stopped watching. But I still have a love and a fondness for many, 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 many years worth of The Simpsons. We're not going to get to ink this tonight, but if we got the pencils done, I'd be happy. When you got four characters and all this going on, like you got the whole scene, we're going to have a little background, and then we've got the turtle table here. I was thinking we put like one of the size, maybe something like that. Maybe a couple of the ninja stars sticking into the table, and then like a bowl of cereal. Maybe April's story in the newspaper, something by April O'Neil, so you get a little bit of April reference there. Yeah. Désirée says, I didn't challenge him. I asked him a favorite line. I call this one bitey, and then quoted one, and then he did, and soon we were going back and forth until we realized it was happening and clammed up. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a Conan O'Brien era. I call the big one bitey. I mean, the monorail episode is just one of the 3 best episodes, 5 best episodes. Mark says Simpsons X-Files crossover. It's a great one. It's really a great one. I bring you peace. I bring you love. Oh, he brings his love. Kill it, says Willie. His jiggling is almost hypnotic. Yes, it's like a lava lamp. Great episode, Mark. Good call. Is there anything a donut can't do? Gum and nuts together at last. Uh, my only problem with Chuck says my only problem with Comic Cons nowadays, there's way too many Hello Kitty type booths that don't belong at Comic Con, in your opinion, in his opinion. Sure. Um, I mean, San Diego has that, but like right next to it is also like all the comics and all the arts. The alien appears every Friday night, like Urkel. Oh, who knew a whale could be so heavy? As Mo is dragging Shamu from SeaWorld across the field there. Agent Fox Mulder, FBI. You all know what I'm quoting there. Holds up the picture. Desiree says, I can't take his money. I can't print my own money. I have to work for my work for money. Why don't I just lay down and die? Here I am using my legs like a sucker. What's that? That's a feeding tube, Mr. Simpson. Here I am. And the eternal classic, you'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel. I seem to have misplaced my pants. Yep, that's from the burlesque house episode. Are they talking about the bordello? No, the burlesque house. Just keep your mouth shut. I mean, we put the spring in Springfield. It's a little extra spice that makes living extra nice. A giddy little thrill at a reasonable price. And I also love the Homer at the Bat episode. That's a good one. And Mr. Plow. I mean, yeah. Mr. Plow, that's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow. Old Man Winter. I was singing the adults' kids song yesterday. Ah. Our only major quarrels with your total lack of morals. We put the spring in Springfield. Mr. Burns' Dracula is a great one. Great one. I do have a life outside this kitchen, you know. See, these are my people here. And of course, Hank Scorpio. And the comic I always point to be like, if you want to try a Simpsons comic, I have no idea how expensive it is or if it was reprinted, but Mr. Burns teams up with Hank Scorpio and evil ensues. So have some dripping. Ah, Frank Grimes. Yep. Old Grimy. You've been to space? What? You've never been? I also love the one with Harvey Firestein, who's Homer's assistant when he gets the promotion when he gets hair. He's like, "You are one of God's beautiful creatures." Carl, that's his name, Carl. That was a great one. Or special creatures, that's right. Herb, yeah, Herb. The car that he designs. Was that the Canyon Arrow episode, or was that a different one? I don't remember. The one with Johnny Cash when he eats the Insano pepper. That's another good one. I guess we should show the edge of a chair, even though the perspective is a little off. Unky Herb, that's right, yes. See, this is why we're friends here. We all remember the old Fox network when it was The Simpsons, 90210, Married with Children, and then other. There were shows that popped in and out. Yeah, the X Files and the X Files. Yeah, that's right. X Files, 90210, The Simpsons, and then other. And Married with Children was on for what, like 15 years? I don't know. I recently rewatched an episode and I didn't feel like it aged all that well. So I was not taking a deep dive. As I mentioned, I will be at Fan Expo, not this weekend, but the following one. So if anybody would like a sketch or wants to pick up the Undersea Hero book or get their Conan book signed, I will be there. And my cover does appear in the back of every issue of Conan. So if you pick up the one at the store in a week or so, you can flip to the back and be like, hey, I know that guy. There is a typo in my name um, in the back of the book, though, unfortunately. I had hoped we had a room for like my classic jagged border, but with where the lettering is there just wasn't enough space. So I don't know, unless I mounted this on another piece of paper, which that would be it could be precarious. Hopefully I can make it out to Rubber Chicken Comics at some point. Very soon. Gotta go see the guys. Maybe set up a signing of some kind before or during the Kickstarter. I also got to send the folks at NEC an email, see if they could let me come and sit and promote the Kickstarter at some point. Hand out flyers. Do the hustle. I'm sure the Comic Crusaders will post it. They did a nice post for my SDCC stuff. Trying to think if there was anything else at San Diego worth mentioning. Breakfast, friends, Eisner's, travel, the booth. The booth was great. Great location. Um, the only thing that about the front that's tough is that, sometimes, people that are just going past you to get to other stuff, but all I can do is put my stuff out and hope that, it's visually appealing enough for them to take a second to look. And I got better as I talked about the book as it went on. I didn't really practice because I had so much going on. I didn't really have time to come up with or practice like that elevator sales pitch. So, like I said on a thread at one point, I have this artiste BS thing that I have a hard time getting over sometimes. I don't like comparing my work to other projects, but it makes it easier for people to understand what it's about. So I basically described Undersea Hero as the Tick, Aquaman plus the Tick and the Muppets all mixed together, and people seem to understand it at that point. So yes, the classic Jay Kennedy sales pitch, dude. Help me make. I need gas money. Help me get gas money home. Jay will be at Rhode Island Anime Con this weekend if anyone's in Providence that is a fan of anime and wants to do anime things. Talk to voice actors or buy anime stuff. It's at the same place as the Rhode Island Comic Con and such at the convention center. Saturday and Sunday. Hey Ethan, how are you? I did make it back eventually. It was early in the morning on Monday, but we made it back. We lived to draw another day. Everything's on your end. Everything good? Thanks for the kind words on threads and images and stuff. I'm sorry I couldn't answer everybody during the show. I was pitching, drawing, running sales, and trying to not dehydrate all mixed together. Ideally, because love Jeff, just not around the booth all that much. As far as the actual like running the booth goes. Um, Ideally, you would have another person who was booth centric with me so that I could spend time drawing and talking to people and not also, doing all the sales and everything else. So, Ethan says he's going to try to go to San Diego with his oldest son, Jacob, who's 18. Fantastic. Excellent. I have no idea how hard it is to get tickets at the fan level. there are people in this chat that might be able to help you better than I. Um, or if you have an in, which is usually the way most people, I think, get into these things, a vendor or a pro that can help you out. Hey, don't worry about it, Michael. Good to see you, man. I'll show you my pin. Greetings from Comic-Con. And since we got new people, I'll show my one sketch that I traded for again. This was the John Carter of Mars, Désirée, that I traded with Dean Kotz, who's a fantastic artist. If you dig classic, pulpy, wonderful old comics, then I implore you to follow him on social media. Dean Kotz, DEANKOTZ. Yeah, it's beautiful. We did a trade. I did a Solomon Kane, and he did that for me. And then, as I said, I met a gentleman who said he was a film producer, Japanese, and he really liked Krakus and Undersea Hero. And we talked a little bit. And he said this was how I wrote my name in Japanese, which I thought that was a very cool cultural exchange. Gave him a business card. He gave me one of his. It was very nice. And I had some people who used to visit me at the Tick booth come see me, and they gave Undersea Hero a shot. So that's all I can ask. I think that it's not too far of a leap for people to, if you liked my work in that environment, that you'll enjoy this one. I think that this is better than my Tick work, and I say that without hesitation. It's just objectively better. And a lot of people were asking about NEC, and a lot of people were asking about, where they were, what they were doing, and I was totally honest. I have no idea if they're ever going to publish anything ever again. I have no idea, because they will not tell me either way. I don't think, whether they do or not. I have no idea. They've got finished work sitting on the shelf that I've done, and we'll see what happens. Is my new comic on the stands now? No, it's not going to be at retailers until at least after the Kickstarter, so that'd be next year. It's going to be on Kickstarter in November. I made a preview book that debuted at San Diego. Let's see, where is a copy of it? See, this is what happens when I do all my hyping earlier. Issue 0 that I did for the show, and it has a preview of what'll be in the Kickstarter. Preview of that. It's got a pull-out poster. It's got a couple of short stories. It's got an essay, and yeah, in November. And I'll need all your help to make it happen. And I'm hoping it's the beginning of a new avenue for me to really get more work out there. Thank you. Yeah, it's you're gonna get tired of seeing it on my Facebook page and YouTube page and everything else, but that's really, I have to just do the best I can to make sure people know. Because one of the things that happened at San Diego, even though I put it on every single post, the dates that I would be there, people came by the booth on Sunday asking where I was, but I wasn't there Sunday, and it said it on like everything I posted. So I have to work very hard to make sure I communicate what I'm doing, where I'll be, and everything else. So I'm sorry if it gets redundant or annoying, but I feel like it's my duty to the work, because I think Undersea Hero is some of my best work, and I think it's my best writing in a comic so far. I have 2 short stories that I've written that I think are the best things I've written, and I don't know when I'm going to have time to turn them into comics, but it'll probably be after the Kickstarter. But yeah, one of them's a horror story, and then the other one is like a psychological thriller story. And I'll probably um, put stuff out on my own. Yeah, I mean it's we got 4 months. We got 4 months to get as much of the book done as possible. I've got other stuff going on in my life that is big. Um, it'll affect my future output. It'll affect what I can do. Um, but life goes on. The only certainty is that stuff will be changing to a certain degree. I don't know how much, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I already have a printer lined up. I already have shipping supplies lined up. I have all that. I'm just building graphics for the Kickstarter and working on pages, getting the word out as best I can. Hopefully, arranging some interviews, some people to help me promote. So, well, I think I've taken this about as far as I can tonight. I'm kind of running out of gas. I'm still not back from the trip, but you know, thanks for hanging out tonight. Yeah, Undersea Hero, Conan, got that book out. Um, the Conan's available on my website. It's a wraparound cover. I got other stuff I'll be putting on there as time goes on. Um, but thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope everybody has a good night. And we'll see you next week. All right. Take care.